Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite things, which is the magic loop method. It's generally what I use as opposed to double pointed small circumference knitting like mittens and baby hats and even adult size hats. I use it to close up the top so that I don't have to use double pointed needles. And I'll tell you a little bit why I like them as opposed to double pointed needles. I think they're a lot less fiddly. You're working with 2 needles at a time instead of 4 or 5. And when I used double pointed needles, I used to always get ladders in my knitting in between the needles. Like I would have a big ladder up the side of my knitting, and I don't get that with the magic loop method, which is great. I think it's cheaper in the long run because you don't have to buy double pointed needles in every single size that you need. I made a small investment into an interchangeable needle set, and then I just have this one long 40-inch cord that I can switch between any needle size that I have, and so it saves a lot of money in the long run. I'm using Knit Picks interchangeable needles, and they're 40-inch cord, and it's relatively inexpensive. I think I paid about $55 for this set for sizes. It comes with sizes 4 through I want to say 11 or maybe 13, I'm not sure. And I bought my set like 7 years ago and it works great. I've only had one cable break and Knit Picks replaced it for free, so that was pretty awesome. They also have really flexible cables, which is really important for Magic Loop method. You need to be able to really bend the cable. Another brand that has really flexible cables is Addi. They're a little more expensive, but they're very nice and really flexible needles. And another great thing about using an interchangeable set, as you can see, I have one needle that's quite a bit larger than the other. When you're knitting something circular, you're basically knitting a spiral, so you can keep the size that you need for your gauge on your right hand, while using a couple sizes smaller in your left hand. It doesn't alter your gauge at all, but it helps the needles slide around really fast and easily, so I really like that about using an interchangeable set. Another brand that's a little more inexpensive would probably be Clover. Their cables are not quite as flexible, but you can actually boil the cable in hot water for a few minutes to kind of loosen it up, make it a little bit more flexible, and it should be okay. Just make sure to not put the needles in there. Let's see, what else? Okay, well I think that's about it for the reasons that I love Magic Loop, so I might as well just show you how to do it. So if you are using an interchangeable set and using a couple sizes smaller for one needle, make sure you cast on with the bigger size. So I have a US 13 here, and I'm going to cast on my stitches with this one. So I'm just going to make a slip knot like normal and place that on the larger needle and tighten that up a little bit. And I'm just using the long tail cast on. I'm just going to cast on 18 stitches onto this larger needle, and then I'll show you what we do after that. Okay, let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so I have all my stitches cast on to the larger needle. I'm just going to turn my needle over this way, and then I'm going to slide all the stitches to the center of the cable, and then we need to count halfway between the stitches. So 18 divided by 2 is 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And what you're going to do is bend your knitting and pull the cable through both sides like this, just like that. And then you're going to slide the stitches facing you up onto that smaller needle, or you could be using the same size as your back needle, that's fine. And make sure your tail is over the back needle. And now what I kind of like to do, and it really helps to have a flexible cord, is I like to make sure that my cord is kind of twisted around like so it doesn't stretch out these stitches. It's not a huge deal, but that's just what I like to do. And the more you use the cord, the more flexible it'll be. Okay, so now I'm just pulling out my larger needle. Let me show you that, sorry. Okay, so the needles were like this, and I just take the larger needle, the back needle, and pull a little bit of cable out. So I have half the cable on this side, and then half over here where I'm going to start knitting. So I like to knit the tail in a little bit, just to that first stitch. And you just go into your first stitch, just like you're normally going to knit in the round, and you knit it. Let me bring my tail through here. So I'm doing a knit one, purl one rib. I'm just going to purl the next stitch. And then, so as you can see, I have cables on both sides. And they're kind of crossed over the needles. Sometimes your cable might go like this. Well, mine's so worn in, it just kind of crosses automatically. But I just kind of keep them crossed and kind of use them as little handles. It's totally up to you though. Okay, let's knit to the end of this row, and then I'll show you what we do. Purl, knit. Okay, so I've knitted all the stitches on one needle. I'm just going to turn this around and pull the cable so that my stitches slide back up onto this needle. And then I'm going to pull this needle out so I have cable on both sides. And keep going. This one's a purl. Oops. Knit. So it just takes a little bit of practice. It's going to be a little weird at first if you've never done it, but I think it's so much easier than dealing with 4 or 5 needles for double pointed needles. So I'm turning again, pulling my cable so that the stitches slide up onto the needle, and pulling this one out. And I'm just going to keep working in my rib pattern. And you can do any circumference with magic loop method. Tiny little mittens. You can do the thumb for the mittens, which I think is so much easier than with double pointed needles because it's such a small circumference. Hats, cowls, sweater sleeves, socks. Okay, so let me just show you one more time. I just pull that cable through and you just keep working. So if it seems really hard, just keep practicing for a little bit. It took me a long time to get it, but once I did, it was just kind of a world of difference. I'm a lot faster. I don't have ladders in my knitting. Plus, I'm kind of cheap, so it saves a lot of money, I think. Alright, so then you just pull the cable through, and you would just keep going around and around as many times as your pattern calls for. And that's it. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.